All right, let's get right into one of the most terrifying true stories in history. The story of how one man's failed dream literally set the entire world on fire. I mean, it sounds completely insane, right? How does a man that nobody believed in, a rejected artist from the streets of Vienna, somehow rise up and nearly burn the world to the ground? Well, let's find out how it happened. You know, to really understand the monster he became, we have to go back to the beginning. Back to the man and his simple, almost ordinary dream that went so horribly wrong. So, picture this. It's Austria, 1889. A young Adolf Hitler doesn't dream of conquering nations. He dreams of being a painter. He truly saw himself as a great artist. But when he applied to the big, prestigious Vienna Academy of Fine Arts, they shot him down. Not just once, but twice. This quote right here, it just nails it. This wasn't just, a career change. It was a total personal collapse. For him, this failure was the spark. That frustration didn't just fade away, it festered. It started to rot, and it turned into this deep, burning anger. So, the art dream is dead. He's got nothing. He needs a new purpose, a new identity. And where does he find it? In the darkest corners of society, building an entire worldview, not out of hope, but out of pure heat. He actually ended up homeless, living in cheap hostels, struggling just to eat. And it's down there, in that desperation, that he discovers politics. He starts soaking up all these extreme nationalist and hateful ideas that were floating around Vienna, ideas that, very conveniently, gave him someone to blame for all his problems. Then, after he fights for Germany in World War I, their defeat completely crushes him. And this just sets the perfect stage. Germany is on its knees, humiliated, poor, and absolutely desperate. And right into that chaos steps Hitler, offering a very simple and very dangerous solution. I'll give you back your pride. I'll give you strength, and we will get revenge. And when a whole country is desperate, people look for a savior, right? A strong leader. Hitler was a master at this. He positioned himself perfectly, feeding on an entire nation's pain to fuel his own climb to the top. And his path to power was anything but random. It was a calculated climb. First, he joins this tiny, pretty much irrelevant political group, the Nazi Party, and just takes it over. He starts giving these fiery, mesmerizing speeches. I mean, he wasn't just talking, he was performing, channeling all that anger in the room. His following just exploded. And by 1933, he'd done it. He was the Chancellor of Germany. And the second he got that power, he made sure no one could ever take it away. He moved fast. He tore down democracy, got rid of all his political opponents, silenced anyone who dared to criticize him, and took complete control of the press. So how do you hold on to power like that? Well, Germany was transformed into a state that ran on three key ingredients: constant fear of the secret police, nonstop propaganda that made him look like a god, and a demand for absolute blind loyalty. With total control at home, Hitler then turned his eyes to the rest of the world. And what came next was the darkest chapter of his rule, a global catastrophe, and one of the most horrific acts of genocide in all of human history. He needed a scapegoat for everything that had ever gone wrong, and he aimed all that blame at the Jewish people. This poison culminated in the Holocaust, the state-run systematic murder of 6 million Jews, and millions of others too, Roma people, homosexuals, and anyone who stood in his way. Over 6 million. Just let that number sink in. It's a number so huge, it's almost impossible to really feel it. But every single one of those was a life, a person, a family, a story, all of it just wiped out by calculated hate. And his ambition didn't stop there. In 1939, he invades Poland, and just like that, World War II begins. For a while, his armies seemed unstoppable, just crushing anyone in their path. Country after country fell. At the height of his power, Hitler genuinely believed he was invincible. He thought his will alone was enough to conquer the world. But that exact same arrogance, that absolute refusal to listen to his generals or admit he could be wrong, that was the very thing that would bring it all crashing down. You know what they say, every tyrant's reign has to come to an end. And for Hitler, the fall was just as fast and dramatic as the rise, as the entire world finally came together to put out the fire he'd started. The big turning point his incredibly reckless decision to invade the Soviet Union. The brutal Russian winter just destroyed his army. Soon after, you have the full might of the Allies. The US, Britain, the Soviet Union, all united against him. By 1945, the war was lost. Enemy forces were closing in on his capital, Berlin. I mean, at this point, he was completely detached from reality. He's hiding deep underground in this bunker, spending his last days moving imaginary armies around on a map, shouting impossible orders to an army that wasn't even there anymore. With Soviet soldiers just streets away, he finally knew it was over. On April 30th, 1945, the man who dreamed of ruling a global empire died by his own hand, deep beneath the rubble of the world he tried to build. So why do we keep telling this horrifying story? Because it's not just about some guy who lived and died decades ago. It's about understanding the dark things that can happen in our societies and even within ourselves. And this right here, this is the main takeaway. Hitler's story isn't just something that happened. It's a permanent, chilling warning. It's a warning about how easily personal anger can be twisted into political hatred. It's a warning about what happens when you give that hatred absolute power. It shows us, in the most brutal way possible, what happens when you let these forces run wild. So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. In a world that's still full of division, propaganda, and the appeal of strongman leaders, what lessons from his rise from nothing do we need to remember most urgently today?